All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are in the world. While everyone joins us, if you have a moment, change your chat settings to everyone so we can all join the conversation. My name's Stephanie. I'm your host, and I'm joined tonight by a powerhouse of homeopaths, Julianne Lee, Andrea Ring, and Linda Steed. Tonight, we're going to be talking about something pretty cool that we've not talked about before. It's a brand new course offering that I know is hugely requested in our community, and it's called Your Homeopathic Toolkit, and it's going to be all about becoming a confident home prescriber for your animals. It's going to give you the tools you need to help your animal when emergencies happen. You'll be there, you'll be equipped to help your animal through it with confidence. So before we get started again, change your chat settings to everyone so we can all join. And if you have questions, I'll moderate. We'll ask questions at the end. Today's session is basically about digging in a little bit deeper about what to expect at the course. Linda and Andrea have joined us, Julie, you too, to help us get an understanding of what we can expect when the course starts on September 17th. Before we get started, can I ask, I've been personally curious about why you came up with this course. Linda, why did you decide to offer, and Andrea, but Linda, if you don't mind starting, why did you decide to offer this course for everyone?
Well, just because people ask, they when most of my patients over the 15 years that I've been a homeopath have been people patients, but they will often ask me something about their animals, and then and then they discover, oh my gosh, look what I can do with with remedies, and then they want to know more. And a lot of the people that have taken the course for animals have taken the course for people first, and then they realized, okay, there's so much more that I can do here. And I I really feel passionate that we need to be equipped to handle things at home. We need to be able to, have our remedies at home, be able to select them well, so that when something happens, we have to wait to get into a vet. Or something's happening in the middle of the night, that we can do something. And this is, for whether it's for your animal family or your people family, we need to be able to be uh, equipped at home. I just feel that's really more important now than ever.
I'll pipe in here. That was a really great way to describe it, Linda. I think what's happened over the last few years with COVID, we're getting into such a situation of a vet shortage, doctor shortages, etc. It's I've had so many people contact me and say, I'm trying to get into my vet for this situation. My cat has a UTI, I think, or a bladder infection, or something's happening that's not an emergency, because for emergencies you have to go, first of all, you have to know if it's an emergency or not. But it's hard to get into vets, so it's harder to see vets. It's harder to get access to good care. It's especially difficult to get access to holistic care for animals. So if that's the path you go with your animals, you end up oftentimes having to go to an emergency clinic, and then they're doing things that are asking you if your animal's been vaccinated, what kind of a diet is on. Oh, your raw diet is probably causing this problem. So it's there's such a lack of information in the conventional vet world as to what's going on in terms of feeding appropriate diets, etc. So it's so contradictory to you know what we're doing. So, and of course, over the last little while, Julie has been saying, you guys, Linda and Andrea, really should team up and put your homeopathic minds together. And with Linda's knowledge of homeopathy, and also having been teaching this course, and my experience over the however many years now, and even going back to Julie when we worked together in Vancouver, um, I feel like we have a lot to offer and help people.
Well,
Yeah. and I really have been bugging them because, you know, everybody on it's so discouraging for me when I'm doing Ask Me Anythings, and I'm seeing people write things in the chat, and my dog's doing this and my cat's doing this, and you know, we've had this blood work, and we've done this and we've done that, and I'm reading them going like, oh my gosh, like there's just so much that they can do. Like there's so, you know, there's you know, hundreds of people writing, like chatting to each other on the group chats, and I would say, oh my gosh, probably 90% of it they could actually be navigating at home, you know, a large percent of it. And you know, I mean, I've been, some of my very best friends are vets, and it's a scary time right now. We don't have enough vets. They're burning out, they're super stressed out, and I think we're kind of like changing into more of a human model, right, where you're, you know, you can't get in to see your doctor, and then you're sitting in a emergency room for, like, for people I'm talking about, you know, it takes, you know, 2 weeks to get a doctor's appointment or something, and meanwhile you're really not feeling well, so you're told to go to emerge, and then you go to emerge and you're sitting in emerge for, you know, 4 to 12 hours to be able to see someone. The same thing's happening with animals now. Like, it's very different, never ever used to be like that, right? And it's dramatically changing. So when I see all of these chats coming up, I just always think to myself, oh my gosh, like I just wish that they could have the knowledge that you guys can teach them, right? Like, just like the knowledge is there, the information is there, but it's not often taught by it's either taught by a vet who has a probably doesn't have the ease to teach it to a layperson, right? So I think the most exciting part for me of you guys teaching it is teaching it in a way that it's digestible and tangible, and that people can start using it like right away, whether they're using it right away in their home, they're using it right away when they go to see their vets and asking questions. Like it's a course that I've been bugging you guys to do for probably 4 years, right? And now it's like, okay, you just have to do it because people really, really, really need it.
I think we've reached a sort of a watershed moment where we don't have any choice but to do it, because you know, I know, Julie, you refer lots of people to me, and I've, you know, I can't cope with the volume of people that need help. I'm literally, you know, at my wit's end trying to keep up with it all. And, you know, Linda, you've done this, I've done this, Julie, you have too. We teach people one-on-one all the time. And I kept thinking to myself, you know, I know, Julie, it's part of the motivation behind you starting Adored Beast Apothecary was to get this information about health, not just about supplements and homeopathy, but health of animals and health of people philosophically as a lifestyle out to people. You know, how do we treat our animals? What are our animals? It's part of what we want to teach in this course as well, the fundamental pillars of health for animals, which include being able to treat with homeopathy and avoid drugs when you can. And there's absolutely a place for drugs, and we need veterinary medicine completely. But understanding more about your animal's anatomy and physiology. And this isn't going to be a course about that, but as we go through each acute and first aid issue, we'll talk about the pathology related to that and knowing what's normal and what's not normal in terms of the animal's vital signs and what could be happening based on their symptoms. And then you know how to treat, what remedies to choose based on if you have a good idea of what could be causing it. But it's really, really essential that more people have this information in their hands so that they don't have to rely so heavily on veterinarians and on holistic practitioners.
Yeah. And you did say something that's important, both of you, is that, you know, if you have to go, you know, if you're picking up the phone and you call and it's like, you know, is it an emergency? Like, let's say even just an ear infection. Well, it might not be an emergency in that moment, but it can turn into an emergency if they're not seen in the next 5 days, where something could perforate an eardrum, or, you know, it just the amount of inflammation that can happen and cause a much longer long-term situation, more of a chronic problem, right? But understanding what is an emergency, you know, like, you know, you're picking up the phone, this is what's happening. People have to start to assess, is this an emergency or not? Like, how do we know, you know? So I think you touch on that too in the course, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing that is I find is really empowering for people when they take this class is to understand the basic fundamentals of homeopathy, because they are fundamentally different from any other system of medicine. And it doesn't work well to, you know, get a book and say, oh, well, you use this for this and that for that. Okay, arnica for pain. Well, arnica is not for every kind of pain. You know, there are certain pains that arnica works really well for. If it's, you know, contusions or bruising or some kind of trauma to tissues, arnica is going to work really well for that. But it's not the only pain remedy. And if you're going to use homeopathy well, you need to understand the basic principles and how to find your way to the remedy that's going to work so well you're going to be like, oh my God, can it work that fast? You know,
Yeah.
and then it gets really fun and actually and exciting when you do that, when you use it that way, and then you're just in with both feet and you just can't get enough of it. So that's what I try and bring out in these classes is, you know, get it right and then get really excited about it, and that fuels your learning journey with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's nothing cooler than, you know, even when I was like a super duper newbie, you know, like 19 whatever it was, 94, and you know, something would happen with my animals, and I was like in first year at UBC, and be like, okay, you know, going through my books and giving a remedy, or even, you know, calling my prof and saying, okay, this is happening, like what should I give them, or what should I do, and how fast it works.
Yeah.
Like, it just blows your mind how quickly the right remedy, and the big thing is repetition, right? So, you know, I think that's going to be a very, very big part of a lot of the really wonderful animal homeopathic courses are out there. And a lot of them is like, you know, give a dose of a remedy and watch and wait and see. And, you know, I don't think either one of you guys, I mean, there's a part of that, but repetition to me is everything, and not repeating it enough and quickly enough in acute problems can be, you could have the right remedy, you could be like spot on with your remedy, but you're not giving it close enough together to you know, make a difference in that acute situation, right? And then you're like, oh, but it just seems like such the right remedy, why is it not working? Well, it could literally be not working because you're just not giving it enough, like,
Or not high enough potency. And I remember when I was studying with you that you explained, well, animals' lives are shorter. A disease process moves really fast. So you have to match what you're doing with your remedies to that. You have to match that intensity. So it's just getting the hang of, okay, don't be scared to use a 200 or a 1M, and make sure it's the right remedy. And if it's very intense, you may have to repeat it really often. And you know, I learned that from Julie by sitting with her when she'd see 12 animals in an afternoon. I'd just be, like my head would be exploding with all this information, and then I could see, okay, this is how you get this to work in this situation, and you make these judgment calls about the intensity and match the homeopathy to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite an eye opener for me too when I, you know, way back when I first went in with my dog to see Julie, because I didn't even know what homeopathy was at that time. And here I am giving these little granules, and they're literally, my dog who was on death's door, it was like he sprung back to life again. I didn't understand it. I thought he was, you know, dying. And then at 16 years old, and who would not think that in kidney and liver failure, your dog would probably not be around that long at that age. But he lived to be 18, for crying out loud, on a raw food diet. There was only one raw food diet on the market then, and it was only raw because Julie convinced the producer to make it raw and not cooked. So you know, it's, homeopathy is such an astounding, powerful modality of medicine. Knowing how to use it properly, I think, is the best home tool you can have.
Yeah, I agree.
To do stuff at home.
Yeah.
Knowing how to use it, knowing the right potency, knowing the repetition, also knowing when you've given it too much. So knowing what an aggravation is, knowing what approving is. It's all the mistakes that people end up making with homeopathy because they don't have that fundamental knowledge of knowing what these things are and what they are when you see them in an animal, and then what you do about it.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of people that have some knowledge making a lot of those mistakes, even with chronic conditions, of either not giving the remedy long enough or using, you know, we were all trained as classical homeopaths, and knowing that classical homeopathy works in constitutional prescribing and in many cases, but in a lot of cases, you may need to give combinations of remedies that help, Julie, I learned this from you, deal with the physiology of what's wrong and help heal that physiology and pathology in the animal.
Yeah.
It can be miraculous. It really, really can.
Yeah, but I honestly do feel like, I mean, you know, we did at my hospital, I mean, we did, Andre, as you guys both know, you know, we did diet and herbs and probiotics and nutraceuticals and surgery and drugs, and we did everything. But when it comes to one modality of medicine that I feel can cover the majority of issues that you're going to that's going to happen to you at home, it's definitely homeopathy. There's nothing that's going to work as fast. There's nothing that's going to work as deep, and there's nothing that's going to work at the level of acuteness or deep-seated disease like you know, you can't, you know, we all know that cranberry helps with bladder infections. Well, by the time you put enough cranberry into your cat or your dog or whatever, they're going to be really sick, right? Like you can't get enough cranberry in there to make a difference, you know, quickly. You need something that's going to be like faster than a drug, because that's what it is. You know, when I was a kid, I used to get, you know, certain things, and you would start taking a drug and it would take a couple of days before you felt better, you know, whereas you take a homeopathic remedy, if it's the right remedy, you feel better in 20 minutes, half an hour, you're like, oh my God, like I feel like it's almost like, or sooner,
Or seconds.
you know, or seconds. I know, like
It dissolves.
I had one of my recent students. He was very concerned about this 23-year-old cat that was not eating, and he was actually reading Kent's Materia Medica. He just couldn't get enough Kent. You know, he's kind of he just really geeked out on me really fast. But anyway, it was really good. So he was reading. He said, you know, I was reading about ammonium carbonicum, and it's for, you know, old ladies with no teeth and who, you know, who don't want to eat. And I'm just getting an email from him now. Anyway, and so I said, hey, give it. And so he made it up in my office, took it to the cat, put it in the cat's mouth, and literally the cat then walked to the dish and started eating. Like, you know, when it happens like that, it's kind of hard to believe it's not sort of magic, you know, but it can just be that good. And you imagine what that has done for him as a student?
Yeah, just to see something. So
okay, whatever, I'm in, you know.
Yeah. Well, I have a horse here, and I have a really, really amazing trimmer, and you know, he was a rescue, and we did x-rays with him, and he had a broken side bone, and he's this massive horse, and his x-rays just they look like a car wreck. Like they just are terrible. And he was limping the other day, and I called her and I said, do you think you should come over? And she said, yeah, I'll come and take a look at him. And when she was there, she said, you know, I'm amazed this horse can't even walk, let alone walk how he walks, not on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, will he eventually have to go on drugs? He might, but by then we're at a point where he's had so many really great years compared to like throwing them on a whole bunch of NSAIDs and drugs now, you know, and then his liver starts tanking, or he gets a gastric ulcer or whatever. Like we use here on the rescue farm, we use drugs as a last resort, not a first choice. Right. And remedies can, you know, what I love about homeopathy is it can treat a kitten or a puppy, you know, when they're really vital and they've got, you know, gotten into something and they're throwing up, or they're, you know, got puppy vaginitis, or they've got whatever, all the way to, you know, I remember with my donkey, she was 31 and she started getting really sick, and the vet was like, well, she's in heart failure. Like her heart sounds like a washing machine, and there is no drugs for horses and heart. So she's probably got about 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. I'm like, 3 weeks. Oh my God. And I just absolutely adored this donkey. Anyways, we started her on, you know, a combination of, at that point, it's like I couldn't wait and watch and see if what was going to work. So I kind of like threw the kitchen sink at her when it came to like digitalis and, you know, like all of the major heart remedies. And she lived for 3.5 more years, you know, and like that's 3.5 more years of a donkey that's 31 with heart disease. Massive. Like it's massive. Like they couldn't believe that she lived that long. So, you know, acute and chronic, supportive care on top of drugs and surgery. Like, I think that's why homeopathy gets such a bad name, because it poses the most risk and the most threat to conventional medicine. Because, you know, I'm not saying that people are going to be able to do this from your course by any means, but I mean, Andrea was, you know, doing a lot of the lab stuff at my practice, and we had dogs that would come in with like bacteria like Pseudomonas, which is really an intensely scary, dangerous bacteria that was kind of antibiotic resistant. And, you know, you do the urinalysis, or you do a culture in their ear, whatever you're doing, you give a homeopathic remedy, and then you redo that urinalysis, or you redo that culture, and it's gone. There is no speculation of how, like, where did it go, right? And I think that's why conventionally homeopathy in general in the world is attacked more than any other modality, like more than chiropractics or more than, you know, traditional Chinese medicine, which are all phenomenally fabulous supportive modalities. But you're probably not, you know, someone that comes in with a major infection, you're not going to chiropractically adjust them for pneumonia and expect them to be not have to go to the doctors for antibiotics, probably, you know, or it's just so broad. It hits so many different emotionally, physically, intensely sick animals. And you know, this is just the taste, right? This is just the taste, this course. What I'm excited about this course is I think it's one of the only courses on the market that will give people the confidence to try it and the knowledge to understand when it's working, when it's not, when they have to rush their animal to emerge. What am I looking for to change, right? Yeah. That they're going to see such a difference that they're probably going to want to do, you know, more and more, or maybe they won't, and they'll just be so thrilled that they aren't so scared. Because that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that I see is people are terrified. They have no tools. They don't have tools other than diets and things, which is amazing, but those aren't tools for acute situations when you're at a point going, oh my gosh, I got to take my animal to the vet. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, diet's not going to cut it in that moment.
Mm-hmm. It's also, and Julie, I know you've been talking about this for years, and it's the fact that homeopathy also doesn't have the side effects that the drugs have. So you know how often we're treating drug pathology, right? Yeah. And we're trying to reverse the damage of vaccines, and we're trying to reverse the damage of poor diet on the gut system and the immune system. So when there's so many people, and I am among them, who didn't know better. And there always is a watershed moment where it's like the light goes off and you realize how backwards you've been doing it for so many years by vaccinating your animal every single year when they don't need to be vaccinated every year. When you've been feeding them processed food, we wouldn't feed ourselves or our children this way. Why doesn't it dawn on us that it doesn't make sense for our animals? And even more so for our animals, because they are closer to nature and would go back to nature so fast if they had the opportunity to. Whereas we don't even know, half of us, what to do if we get lost in the woods somewhere, you know, like we're like, I'm going to die now. But we're animals too, and we all have an inherent ability to heal in our bodies. But when we pump our bodies full of drugs every single time, there's something wrong, too soon, too young. When we're feeding poor diet, we notice, right? When we're feeding a poor diet or a processed diet, it's not going to give our bodies the nourishment that it needs. And when we vaccinate, we create so much damage to the immune system, especially when that immunity is already there. Mm-hmm. So we see autoimmune disease from vaccination all the time. So why are our animals getting sicker? So giving people the confidence of that knowledge so that when they go into the vet, they can question. They can say, well, how essential is the vaccine? Let's run a titer instead. We'll get into all of this information in the course as well.
Well, I was just going to say, you're going to be teaching people that. And that's why it's just, so that's why this isn't just a homeopathic course. I mean, it is, but it's a foundational health course, right? Like it's not, it's a foundational, like it's giving people the knowledge of and support to make informed decisions, along with the tools of, okay, I'm informed, this is what's going on, I'm going to give my cat, my dog, whatever, this homeopathic remedy, and I'm going to wait for 24 hours and I'm going to watch, and these are the symptoms I need to watch for, because if these symptoms come up, I know I have to go to Emerge, right? Or I have to whatever. But, you know, it was dicey even saying that to people. Well, Linda, when did I do the course with you? That was like, how long ago? 12 years ago or something, 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
It was 2013. We couldn't say that. We couldn't
say stuff like this because it was easy to pick up the phone and go, oh, my dog's walking around with a little bit of a head tilt, you know, oh, bring them in, right? Like we'll get you in at 5, we'll get you in at 8:30, we'll get you in tomorrow morning. Now it's like, okay, we'll get you in 3 weeks, right? Like the reason that I'm speaking in the way that I'm so openly that I'm speaking right now is because we don't have a choice anymore. You guys don't have a choice anymore. People with animals and we don't, the only choice is waiting, being terrified, feeling completely like, you know, vulnerable to not knowing what to do. And, you know, in all fairness, a lot of it's just getting bigger and bigger. Because when I met you, Andrea, you know, you came in, you were in media, right? Like your degree is in
broadcast journalism.
Yeah, journalism. And, you know, you came in super educated, really, you know, love your dog. And you did what you thought was right. You did what you know, you probably even did your research. You probably even, you know, maybe, you know, you looked at the insert back then, looked at the insert of your drugs but you don't speak dog, right? You don't ever want to do anything that would cause damage to something that you love that much. So you take the guidance. And then on the vet's side, you know, supporting the veterinary industry, they don't know. They don't have a choice. They don't have an alternative. Mm-hmm. That's what's in their toolbox. That's what they're taught at school. That's what they understand. That's how, you know, they have a 15-minute, you know, they come and they see you for 15 minutes. You know, they can't open up a toolbox with all of these different modalities and all of these different things. So it's just it all is for me, the majority of it's based in fear, right? Not knowing what your dog or your cat is showing you, not understanding, being afraid that you're going to do something wrong, being afraid that you're going to cause more harm. So understanding those basic principles of how to take a temperature, what's the right temperature, if your dog has this kind of disease or your cat has this kind of disease, this is what you look for to know whether you got to get your butt in gear, get them in the car and get them down to Emerge, or you have 24 to 36 hours to wait and watch and see if the symptoms are getting better. It's hugely empowering.
You know what? It's I don't know why I'm getting really emotional right now. I think, you know why? Because I feel like I'm sitting in the vet office when you and I had our first consultation. And you just said there, yeah, I bet you read the insert for the drug. It's like, I didn't because I trusted my veterinarian to do that. And I think most people still do that. And what's happened over the last while is that people are being forced out of their comfort zone of trusting their medical practitioners, and they are questioning more. They are questioning a lot of things more. Is this the right thing for my body? when we're being told, and we're not going to get into this conversation because it's too political, but when we're being told that we have to take something that we don't want to, and not given any alternative as to how else we can keep ourselves safe, keep ourselves healthy, keep our immune systems healthy, use homeopathy, use drugs that don't have the same side effects.
Yeah.
You know, we're still in this. It's 3 bloody years going on and more now. The other thing, I just wanted to make one other point, that veterinarians are stressed to the max.
Big time.
And it's been a thing that's been building. COVID is what really pushed it over the edge. So what's happening is, you mentioned there, Julie, some veterinarians are increasing their toolbox. They are using traditional Chinese medicine. They are learning homeopathy. There's some amazing vets that have integrated their conventional knowledge with alternative, complementary, whatever you want to call it, medicine. And they're doing really, really good work. And they're recommending better diets, right?
Yeah.
But vets are really, really stressed. It's really hard to get into those vets, especially when you have a new animal, and vets are making more mistakes.
Well, I think there's not enough of them. So a lot of the mistakes are happening because they are burning out. They're stressed out. They're, you know, imagine what it's like. Someone's calling you and the front desk is saying to you, you know, you've got 4 people. You have no space for the next 5 days, but you've got 4 people with dogs with bloody diarrhea, you know, like, or whatever the situation is. It is like, you know, compassion burnout because they're exhausted. It's just, you know, one after another. It's like, it's not a good space to be in. You know, right now, veterinary medicine, it's the highest suicide rate of all professions.
Oh, wow.
It's a really, really messy situation right now. And I believe that if people take the stand that here's your vet, and here's even the vet industry, and here you are, and here's your animal in the middle. If everyone looks at it, really taking a course like this and just taking more of a proactive and educated approach to navigating your own animal's health, it's not detrimental to the industry. It's not a like, you don't know what we're doing. Like, it's actually supporting them. And that is what needs to happen. More people need to learn so that there's not going to be enough vets coming out of school to support the amount of animals, because everybody got animals in COVID, right? There's so many more patients and so many more animals that it is impossible for them to catch up. It's just not going to happen, not for a really, really long time. So, you know, what do you do? So, you know, I'm hoping that more veterinarians are going to support people to navigate their animals' own health, because it's just going to take the stress off of them, at least for like emergencies or things that can wait. You know, it's not a like, we're going to do this because we never need to go and see a vet again, or we don't want to see a vet again. It's like, no, we're gonna do this so that when we need to see a vet, we really need to see the vet. It's not just like, oh, we just don't have a clue what to do because this is happening to my animal, which is half of the appointments. I would say 80% of the appointments, people take them in because they don't know if they should or they shouldn't take them in.
They don't know if something is wrong. They just see or they're not eating, or they've vomited, and
they don't know if something's really wrong. They don't know at how intensely, you know, is this like I said, is this an emergency? Is it? People aren't stupid. And remember, I used to say that to clients all the time. You know, I would say, you know, your animal better than anybody. You know them better than I do. You know them better than Dr. Roosh does. You know them better than whoever knows them. You know them better. So let's learn how, let us help, like, teach you how to even understand it more. You know, like, who doesn't want to know as much as they possibly can to keep their animals, their kids, their husbands, their wives, their mothers, their whatever, healthy and supported as long as they can. And we're all having to do that, because even doctors you can't get into. You can't get in and see doctors. This isn't just, you know, the animal realm. You know, more and more people are taking courses of how to treat themselves and understand their own health.
Yeah.
You know, and animals are even one step more than that, because they can't come to you and say, okay, I'm really, really sick right now, and I really feel like I need something to happen. But then I always would say too, it goes both ways. So when, and again, like I said, I'm not, you know, I'm definitely not like the anti-vet person. I'm not even remotely like that. But when someone says to me, you have to take it to the vet because you don't understand, they can't speak to you. Well, that same thing holds true when you take them to the vet and they're getting stuff done to them that's making them feel sick. That same concept holds true, that they can't come home and say, you know, every single year I go in for my vaccine, I get itchier. Every single year I go in for my vaccine, you take me in for my vaccine, my stomach hurts worse. Every time I go in, I feel odd for the next 6 months. You know, it's the same. They can't tell you when they're really sick, but they also can't tell you what they're getting that's making them feel worse. So it's up to us to understand them, to really understand them. I think it's our obligation as a pet parent to know that stuff.
Julie, I know you prepared, or I'm sorry, you wanted me to share the link, and perhaps we can go through and dig deeper into the course together.
Yeah.
Just to get a little bit more information of what to expect. Really quick, Mardell's got a question here. Will this course also include applying some homeopathy to us humans?
You will probably make that connection as you study. You'll study a remedy and go, oh my God, I really needed that when I had the flu, and you certainly can use it for people. I'm giving this class again for just focused on people. The difference again is with animals, you know, there's the things you need to know about pathology and disease and what to watch for in them, and you also have to learn how to observe them. What notice, do they seek heat or cold? You know, notice things that you might not have noticed that will help you. But you will definitely go, oh my God, my husband needs that remedy. You know, you will make that connection. And it's I'm teaching you from the basic fundamentals, which were developed by a physician for humans over 200 years ago. And so, but it's just very easy to adapt to any species, even plants. I have some of my students who use remedies for their garden, in their gardens.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing that I was going to go under, understanding the fundamental principles of homeopathy. The fundamental principles of homeopathy is non-species, right? It doesn't matter whether you're, like you said, whether you're using them on a plant, a horse, a cow, a pig, a dog, the person, the fundamental, the foundation is the same, right? So I'm just looking at basic working knowledge, basic understanding of how, so there's the first thing was the confidence in using homeopathic remedies for maintaining the health of your pets. Now that's what we talked about, right? Is I don't know a lot of people that have taken homeopathic courses for animals that feel confident, because they've tried it, they've given a dose, they've watched, they've waited to see, they see nothing. So they're really not sure whether they should go on to the next remedy. They should repeat it one more time. Like there's not a lot of confidence in prescribing remedies to your animals in the majority of courses that I've seen, or even it isn't laid out clearly enough. And I know that that's one of the things that you guys are going to be doing, right?
Yeah. And
sorry, go ahead.
With acute and first aid, especially, a lot of the remedies are going to be the same for vomiting, for diarrhea, for well, you can't tell the dog has a headache, but
as for people,
injuries and also acute illness, we're going to use the same remedies for people with animals. The dosing might be a little bit different because we as a person know how we're feeling. So with the animal, we have to observe, and maybe you should do it more often as opposed to waiting longer. Yeah. Just eat and see if they're improving. Yeah. So yes, Linda does a course that's specifically for humans, which if you don't have any animals would be more indicated for you. But if you have animals and you're wondering, all the principles, all the theory, everything is going to apply for people, and the remedies are going to be set very similar too.
Yeah. And then the other one, it says improved understanding of physiology and pathology.
So what we're going to do there is, this isn't a course in anatomy, physiology, and pathology, because that's a whole other long course in and of itself. But when we go through the different acute issues that are happening, we'll talk about the anatomy, physiology, and potential pathology of what could be going on in that event. So if they're vomiting, is it because they ate something bad and it's a bacterial origin? Could they have eaten something poisonous? Could they have a gastric obstruction? What are all the things that could be causing this? And by knowing the vitals and how to take some basic vitals like capillary refill, temperature, respiratory rate, all of these things will help us sort of hone down what could be causing it. And also, with people too, I wanted to throw this in there. We kind of know what's making us sick, like what caused us to get sick. With animals, half the time, you don't know, what they did. Did they wipe out in the yard somewhere? Did they, they might have gotten injured somehow, and you don't see an abscess until later, especially with a cat. They can't tell us what they did.
No, it's true. It's very true. And they also can't tell us if they're feeling better, like when we talked about, even with me, the first couple of times I took remedies, and you would say to your homeopath, so how are you feeling? And it's like, oh my gosh, way better. Like animals can't say that to us. So like Linda said, your power of observation is huge, and your non-fear, like choosing the right choosing as close to the right remedy as possible, and then not being afraid to repeat it.
Also, also very important to understand some basic principles of when what are the signs that they are getting better. Understand.
Learning, like observing, you can observe it, but if you don't know what's getting better and what's getting worse, all your observations not going to help.
You need to understand Hering's law of cure so that you have a sense of, okay, well, we're not all the way there, but we're going in the right direction. Okay, so we keep going in this direction. Or, oh no, we're not going in the right direction. We're going in the wrong direction. Okay, sure. So we have to make a change.
Yep.
So the direction of cure, and also, so maybe the main, so say for instance, diarrhea. So they've got diarrhea. And in 24 hours, the diarrhea maybe is not better, but they're eating, their energy is better, they're interacting again, they're not, so we're going, so these are all the questions that we as homeopaths, when somebody's got an acute thing and also in chronic things, we ask the questions of, okay, so somebody might say, no, things aren't any better, but it's like, we have to look at all the elements of their improvement or not improvement and look at all those points. So we might not change remedies quite so quickly if overall they seem to be feeling better, but they still have the symptom. So we have a bit more time to work on that symptom.
Or opposite to that.
Right.
You're working with something with diarrhea and all it had was diarrhea. Then the diarrhea is gone, but now its energy's down and it doesn't want to eat.
Right.
And it's, so, yes, it doesn't have diarrhea anymore, but now it's actually sicker because its energetic body is not as vital as it was when it had diarrhea.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly like teaching. That's what you guys are going to get taught, is how, is it going in the direction of we call cure? And we can't, that's what we have to be careful of too, because what homeopathy thinks of cure and what conventionally thinks of cure, it's very different. So when we say going in the direction of cure, that means, are they going in the direction of getting better? Right. So, is the vitality better? Is it weaker? Is it stronger? Is it more restful? Is it resting? Like there's so many things, cats especially, right? Like when they're sick and they're all curled up like this and they're really feeling bad, they go from that to stretched out with their legs back. That's a clear indication that your cat's feeling better, going from being in this curled up position to like a rested position. But that's not something that you're ever going to learn conventionally through a clinic, right? Or through a vet even, or even through a medical doctor. We're not even taught that with children. This is what to look for. This isn't what to look for. So Andrea, what about labs, on basic understanding in how to read lab results?
So what we will do is we'll just take lab work that is normal values and go through it so you understand what all these numbers mean, what numbers, when they're not in range, whether they're high or whether they're low, what numbers you really have to be concerned about. What is normal lab work for a raw fed animal? That mistakes gets made so many times because blood urea nitrogen is higher in a raw fed animal, and that's very normal and healthy because they're eating a higher protein and raw diet. So vets often mistake that for kidney disease and start treating for kidney disease when in fact there's no kidney disease. So knowing how you assess if there's a kidney issue going on, if it's a pancreas issue going on, if it's liver, whether the red blood cells and white blood cells are normal, whether we have inflammation in the body. We'll just go through basically a full panel so that you have a better understanding of what it all means. So that, it's happening a lot too now. People go in for blood work and they're not hearing back and they're worried, right? So they send me the blood work and they say, do I need to be worried? And it's like, no, everything looks fine. Or we have this going on that's pointing to kidney disease or pancreatitis, and we start remedies already. Then the vet calls them back, 3-4 days later, and already we've got something on.
Animals feeling better,
yeah,
and already feeling better. I mean, I think that's something that's going to happen a lot. There's no guarantees, but it does happen. So you have this supportive toolbox that, if you can't get into the vet for 3 or 4 days and you can start a remedy right away, it's pretty incredible that in 3 or 4 days you get to the vets and there's like nothing wrong with them, right? Like they're like 90% better or 85% better.
Yeah. Or they end up canceling. Because it's like, well, they're perfectly back to normal. It's like, well, you might want to go in and get the blood work done anyway, just so we can see what the numbers are looking like, especially if it's an animal that does have chronic issues underlying.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But the amount of stuff you can derail until you can get there, if you can't get in right away, is pretty incredible. All right, so what about, let me just look at this. Yeah, so we talked about that basic working knowledge of the most frequently indicated homeopathic remedies for animals, along with potency and dosages. We talked about that. We talked about the understanding of fundamental principles of homeopathy, improve success in selecting homeopathic remedies for common conditions. So you guys are going to be going, okay, so you're going to be going through different kinds of diseases or ailments, let's use it that way. So, vomiting, diarrhea, kidney stuff, bladder stuff, liver stuff. You're going to, like, it's not just going to be like materia medica. These are the remedies, and these are what they're used for. You're actually going to be teaching it more from a physiological, pathological point of view, which is why people will have confidence, right? Yeah. For me, that's one of the number one reasons that you get the confidence, is because you're actually told these are the remedies for this. Mm-hmm. So even if you've seen the vet, so this isn't all about not seeing a vet. This is about going to see your vet, being diagnosed with something, and then having so much more to offer your animal besides what you're just getting offered at a clinic, mm-hmm. right? Even if it's at a point where, you've gone in, it's been something emergency, and you've had to load them up with stuff, bringing them home and going, okay, I can do this remedy to help detox from this drug, right? I can do this to support the issue at hand. So you're not just handing over your animal and going, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to do what I'm told. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, it's such a broad, for such I don't want to call it a small course, but for you're learning, so you really are learning to navigate so many different areas, right? So many different things that can go wrong with your animal. Not just acutes, not just chronics, but how do you support them when stuff goes down, right? Yeah. Because ultimately it happens a lot.
Yeah.
Can I ask a few questions that have been coming in?
Yeah.
About the course. So the sessions are going to be recorded, is that correct? And attendees can watch them afterwards. They get the collection of them kind of as a library to keep?
Yes. They will get the link to the recording after each class.
Fantastic. And there is like the availability for questions after sessions, sort of like more one-on-one. If they have questions for you, Linda or Andrea, they can email you, keep in touch. And
with the numbers in the class, we probably have to do a lot of the questions mm-hmm. by email, but yes, we will do that.
Fantastic. Do you plan to have any written material with the course to refer to afterwards?
Yes, tons. I usually send out a good 50 pages of notes with each class. Lots.
Good. So we're getting an intensive, really.
You are, and material that you're going to use for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I sign up for the course to help my guy here that I have with me now, but I'm going to be helping the rest of the animals that I have with me for the rest of my life.
Sure.
There's another question here, just to make sure this is on the recording for anyone who couldn't join us tonight. Do you have to be available at the scheduled times to take the course, or can you take the course with the recordings afterwards?
You can take the course with the recordings. However, there is a certain aspect that is interactive. It's not just lecture format, and so try to make the live class if you can. Mm-hmm. You could take the whole thing, by listening to the recorded class, but you might feel like you're kind of left out, because of the interactive aspect. So you will still have all the material, you will still get everything, all the information, but it would probably be more fun if you attend live some of the time.
And one more question here, just to clarify. One lady asked if she chooses one of the dates on the website or if all of them are sessions that you do your best to attend.
Yeah, all of them are the course.
Yeah.
It's a really intense course. Like it's not your.
This is not basket weaving.
No, and it's not like here's your top 10 remedies and see you later. No. There's a lot to this course.
So it's also important to, put aside some time to go through the material and to, to do the homework and do the reading. It's because then you will get the maximum out of it.
Well, that's how you're going to get the confidence.
Totally.
Linda, how much, because this is a question that hasn't come up in our discussions, how much time do you think people need to devote between the months? So it's the one weekend and then there's 1 month and then we have the next weekend.
Well, that's a good point. It depends on your learning style. If you aren't a person who absorbs by reading, you might want to re-listen to the classes. So that's, it's 10 hours of class per weekend. So that, you have to budget time for that. If you love to read and you read quickly, then of course it's going to be a little bit different. But I would definitely try and set aside 4 or 5 hours a week that you can read and do the homework and absorb the material. And you also are going to be asked to make a presentation to your classmates on a remedy in a way that makes it memorable for them as well as for you. There is a test at the end and people get freaked out about that. But I ask you to write your own exam questions. So it's not so bad. But you do want to study and you do want to, do the work, because that will, then you'll start to go, oh my God, I gave ammonium carbonicum to this cat and she walked right over to the dish. And you did that because you did your homework.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The more work you do, the more you get out of it. It's like,
for sure.
And it's a certificate program.
Yes.
You do get a certificate of completion at the end.
Yes.
And if you're really freaked out about presenting a case remedy, and you don't want to write the exam, you can still take the course, but you won't get the certificate at the end.
Right.
I got that right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mardell's got a question here. Will there be books to use in addition to the notes?
There's a book list, and we have contacted a bookseller to give a discount and to get the books to you quickly.
Fabulous. Thank you. Just going to double check.
Those books, I still have the first books that I ever got.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're like, how old are they? Frick, I don't know. Like 25 years old.
And some of the books were written 200 years ago.
Yeah.
And updated and stuff. But yeah, the people who wrote these books were a lot of the original.
So you'll always be referring to, there's nothing that you're going to read that you're going to be like, oh, well, now what do I do with these books? Those books will be something you're going to refer to forever.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Any other takeaways that you want to share? I'm just going to do a quick scan for any questions that I missed. And I'll share the link again for the sign up and more information for anyone who'd like to sign up and get into this course. It starts September 17th.
I don't know. Is there anything else in the chat or anything? Let me just look.
If anybody is really not able to take the course starting September 17th, we are going to run it again in the new year, but it won't start till February. So you're probably kind of chomping at the bit and just, trying to do it now. But this isn't the only opportunity ever.
And there is a requirement for required books. Some of the students are just signing up now as well. A lot of people have been thinking about it and now are jumping on board. They probably won't be able to get their books in time, but we can make do for the first weekend with some online book material, so that you don't have to have your books, but you should have your books by the second weekend. So, that's probably
Shelly Fritzky.
Shelly.
She got her books in 5 days. So there you go.
Yeah, we've had it's all at the mercy of the bookseller, and they're selling it with sending it with USPS, and they've been trying to get a good stock of everything in. One of the books has to come from India. They couldn't find it anywhere else. A lot of the book publishers are in India. Another one had to come from the UK. So it's challenging. It's challenging to find anywhere that has all the books and also has some in supply. So, they might run out of some stuff, but they're doing their best, and we can always source it from some other areas if we're missing some.
So someone asked, is this something I could suggest to my vet?
For the vet to take the class?
It might be a bit, I think that Andrea and I have been talking about this too, because I did a course, a three-year program for vets. The only thing that might be hard with a vet taking this course is that you're going to be going over some stuff that vets know. So they know about blood work, they know how to assess animals, they know, but that's such an important part for non-vets.
So it's not tailored to vets. There may be a course in the future that is.
Well, that's what I was saying. That would be
the right person.
Yeah.
So that they, you've got the tools.
Mm-hmm. It's like, we do have plans in future because we need more homeopaths having the ability to help animals in this way and treat animals. So it's like if a homeopath takes this course, they're going to get all the animal stuff. Treating animals is different, but it's going to be a lot of knowledge they already have. They're going to get the vet information that they probably don't have. The vets are going to get really a lot out of the homeopathic treatment part of it, but they're not going to need the rest of it. So it's kind of like it really is tailored towards people at home who need help with their animals.
Yeah.
There's a couple more questions here that just rolled in. Anne and Mary Saul are asking if the book list is available now. They haven't registered just yet, but they want to order them right away. Does that come after you register as part of the welcome kit?
Usually, yeah.
Okay.
So the minute you register, we can send you that, and then you can get on it. You can get on it right away because the bookseller is offering a discount to students as well. So we do want to make sure it's people that have enrolled that are taking advantage of that. But you could send you the book list and you can source it out elsewhere as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you could even buy the book, so you just wouldn't get the discount.
Yeah. Jan's asking how long the course runs. Janet starts on September 17th, and the last weekend it runs is December 10th, 11th. I'll send you the link and the times that the course will be live.
And is it once a month?
Yeah, it's one weekend a month, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking about remedy kits as well, I think. And that's something that Linda has, that we've been working on, the potential of having kits available for people. So
I have sourced someone in Paraguay sewing kits that are really quite wonderful, solving a lot of frustration with how you keep your remedies all in one place and not like in a Tupperware container where you can't find anything, and you know how it goes. Anyway, I have kits, and that is, yes, that's another, we'll get into that. As we start learning the remedies, you're going to want to have them if you don't already. And these kits will also, you know, they can be used for remedies that you already have. They tend to be a standard size. So
Cool.
And we are using the tiny little granules, which are the best ones for animals. We don't need to crush them. They're really easy to dispense and put in.
Yeah, and people will learn the difference between the granules and all of that stuff too, right?
Yep.
Different types of homeopathy. There's different types of homeopathy available. Linda's going to go through some of that, and as will I. Yeah.
Well, I think everyone needs to take it. I want everybody to take it, because I feel like it's just, like I said, you know, when I hear the sad stories of all the animals that are in such need, you know, and the fact how much everybody loves their animals so much, to be able to just give them so much more. It's an investment in your stress levels, your ability to help your animal, which is like invaluable, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
All
Linda,
right.
for putting this together, the course this evening, Q&A live for us to take a deep dive and see what we're getting ourselves into. This sounds so super exciting. Maybe I'm going to have to sign up there so that I stop bugging Julie at 10 o'clock at night. My dog, oh shoot, I don't know what to do. So thank you for offering this. Thank you for your time, for putting on this special session so we can see what we're signing up for. And thank you for everything that you do for us and for our animals.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for making this happen today, and for all of you who showed up.
Yes, thank you, Julie, Steph, the whole Adored Beast team, for helping us get the word out about this course, and for also Julie for encouraging Linda and I to work together on this as well, because it's the start of more will be coming down the line in terms of helping teach people homeopathy and help their animals for also chronic conditions down the road too. So
yeah,
we hope this is beneficial. We feel it's valuable, and yeah, hope you get a lot out of it. Julie, who's the little kitty who keeps jumping on your lap through
and biting me? I have to put her on the floor. That's Nui.
Nui, she's so adorable.
She is cute, but she's crazy. I love her. She's so bad. I love how bad she is. She really is. She's really something else. I'm telling you. She's like runs the whole house. She's really small. Like, she's a year old, and she's probably 4 pounds, maybe. She's super stunted. Like, she's just, because remember how sick she was when I got her? So, but holy, like, you know, she just stands in the middle of the thing and looks at Henry, and Henry won't come upstairs. It's crazy. Yeah, she's pretty cute. Crazy, but cute.
I love the crazy ones too. You know, it's the crazy ones that's the challenging animals that teach you. You know, they teach us so much about. It's another thing, right? Like
patience.
Our animals teach us about ourselves, patience, telling us to slow down, telling us not to be stressed.
Yeah, for sure.
Forcing us to do it. It's like, okay.
That's my Viola voicing her opinion.
Yeah.
Not to say that little one.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you really soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Night.